Today's episode of the podcast marks the fifth of a special 5-part series I recorded looking ahead to the PX Plus Festival 2019. In today's episode, we switch the focus away from the ops team to two of the headliners, Gearoid Devaney and Xavier Rousset, founders of Trade Members Club. We start things off with their origin stories, hearing how both developed to attain the title of Master Sommelier. We hear about the motivation of setting up Trade in the first place, before taking a virtual tour of the space and its event programming, before finishing up with them making the connections between Trade and the PX Plus Festival, where they'll both be featuring in the Let's Talk About It section. Enjoy.
As you can imagine, I wasn't sitting at school in Belfast back in the 80s dreaming about being a sommelier. I don't think I'd ever seen one or heard of one. But my first part-time job while still at school, studying to get a couple of bad A-levels, was working in a bar in a hotel, clearing glasses, emptying ashtrays, smoking was still very popular back in the day in bars and hotels, bottle skips, all that sort of thing. So hard work, but at the same time, the customer interaction, the hospitality side of it was something that I really enjoyed. And also the skills side of it, learning different drinks, the wines, the cocktails, the spirits, the beers, and how Guinness was different in different bars depending on how long the lines were. So there was a better bar to get the Guinness from, and so all these kind of things. I really enjoyed it. So decided to study hospitality management at college, and then came to London in 1997. I think with dreams of being a sort of a food and beverage manager in a hotel or something like that. Yeah. But I had done a WSET sort of first level course as part of my hospitality course, and whilst interviewing for a back of house manager at the Capitol Hotel, I was also told there was the role of a commis sommelier available, and by that point I had seen commis sommeliers in books. So I thought, well, I'll go and chat to the head sommelier and see what that's all about. What's that about? And I don't think he really sold the job to me in a way. He was sort of telling me about the long hours, and you'd be working hard and being insulted, and but at the end of it, if I committed to do 1 year with him as a sommelier, he would teach me a lot about wine and service, and it would also be an opportunity to work in a Michelin-starred kitchen at that point. It was Philip Britton who was the head chef. So even though my head was telling me, maybe don't do this, my guts, which have got me into trouble over the years, but on this occasion, my gut feelings were right to do that, and I'd sort of never looked back really. And just the learning curve on wine, as you can imagine, in the early days was massive. But also that environment of the Michelin-starred dining room, and I was really enjoying that whole experience really. I worked in sommelier then for the next sort of 15 years, mostly dressed as a penguin with the sort of the dinner jacket and the apron and the bow tie. But at the same time, a great exposure to hospitality. Even got to Paris to work in Pierre Gagnare's 3 Michelin star. Worked with Eric Chavot at 2-star. Did the opening of Tom Aiken's restaurant in Chelsea. We also got up to a star as well very quickly there. So a lot of Michelin stars in terms of my experience at that point. But also great exposure to wines in terms of, you'd be working with 500-600 bin wine lists, all the great wines of the world, so great for tasting. And then as I got sort of into my career, started to do the competitions and the exams, things like... so won UK Sommelier of the Year back in 2008, passed the Master Sommelier exams in 2009. And then around that time, also thinking about maybe a change in direction in my career, thinking that in terms of my sommelier life at that point, I'd achieved a lot and ticked a lot of the boxes that I'd sort of chosen to aim for. So took a share in a small wine in a up and coming wine merchant, Flint Wines, and developed that business. And then my business partners Jason and Sam both. I had a restaurant itch and a hospitality itch that I needed to scratch, and they allowed me to sort of explore that with Cabot in the city, which we opened now 3 years ago, and which has been very successful, very sort of Burgundy-centric offering, but doing really well. And then Mr. Rousset and I, over a bottle of wine or maybe two, thought about the idea of where we're sat today, which was trade a sort of a hub, a space for the hospitality industry, and that's kind of sort of done 20 years there in about 3 minutes, but
exactly.
but hopefully.
Exactly. I got to say, it's probably the first time anybody has given their origin story, and they've spoken about essentially the first experience and first exposure to wine was almost like an off-putting one. There was almost that kind of, you're going to work the long hours, you're going to hard work and hard graft and all the rest of it, and it's just pretty remarkable for me that if you kind of look back in hindsight, you don't have that kind of, I got this, the door was thrown open for me and I was given this fantastic wine. It was almost like the complete opposite in your case, and it's kind of just amazing, really, I think, for me to hear that and to know where you've got to now, and know that was kind of your start, really, or your kind of non-start. It's pretty incredible. I'm just like I say, just curious on that.
Well, I think it was Stéphane Lecardi, who was my first head sommelier. I think for him the carrot was that it would be hard work and it would be tough, but so he told me about the stick first almost, but the carrot was there was this opportunity to learn about wine and Michelin star service and food, and there was something within me that's sort of, and I've never been afraid of hard work, and still today, it's as you can imagine, juggling my flint hat, my Cabot hat, my my trade hat, those sticks.
How did I start? I got hooked when I was 16, probably visiting a vineyard, and then when I was doing my A-level, I told my parents I want to go into the wine world. So from that, my mum it was all about timing, cut an article in the local newspaper about this guy, sommelier from the same town as I come from, opened a few hotels, or at least one at a time, based on wine, called Hôtel du Vin. So I wrote Gérard Rousset a letter at the time, explaining I was 18 and I wanted to learn about wine. So if you could take me for a month stage in Winchester at the time. And I did it twice. And then at the end, I got Gérard called at home in France and said, look, I'll take you for a month in Winchester, just after I passed the A-level. And that was it, really. After that, I kept... I came back for France because I was meant to do a year in a restaurant to learn apprenticeship. While I was in Winchester in August, the restaurant went bust, so I called Gérard and he took me again. So moving forward quite quickly now, from then I opened Bristol, Hôtel du Vin, then I moved to the Manoir 4 Saisons in 2005 to be the head sommelier for Raymond Blanc. I met my ex-business partner, Aggie, where we opened Texture together in 2007. From there, we opened 2015, 2010, one, then a second one and a third one. Then I departed to start again and open a few more restaurants, Blandford Comptoir, Café Comptoir, Cabot, Greenwich Kitchen, and Trade. I think it's getting the right mentor is one thing. It'll give you the right tool. And to be honest, it's often down to you to make it work as well. Nobody's next to you trying to teach you how to read a book about the geography of Italy. And so it's just invest time, money as well, because books cost, travel cost, wine cost. But if you do all those things and you are quite dedicated, there's no reason why you shouldn't succeed. That's all I've done, basically, to be honest. That's all I've done. Hours and hours reading a book. Well, dedication is one, and being kind of, when you focus, that's the word. And it's easy in London or elsewhere to get carried away. And I remember a friend of mine on a Sunday, I was off on a Sunday, throwing stones at my window to come out to the pub and have a pint and watch football. Yeah. I refused, and I was 21 or something. So usually those are the days you do that and party hard. But I refused. I was quite driven. That's the word. And it's easy to get carried away. But if you put enough effort in it, it should happen.
Awesome. Yeah, great to have the context really on how you sort of both came up and get these sort of personal stories and personal recollections, and being as we are now sat here in Trade, in the club itself, in the heart of Soho, and I'm really curious to, of course, give the listeners kind of a virtual tour and give them a sense of what you've kind of got going on here. But I think as well, I want to give them the context of how this came to be, from both of yours perspective, and how that actually came to light. What was the spark for that, and what was the sort of the steps along the way?
I think Mr. Rousset is pointing at me to go first. So, well, I think Xavier and I are very different on lots of things, but we're similar on a few things, and we've both got our sort of moleskin notebooks with lots of ideas in there, and thankfully for the world, lots of them don't happen, I guess, but a few of them have taken place. And one of my ideas from a very long time ago was a sort of a members environment or club or bar for the hospitality business, and everyone sort of linked to that. And I think that it was definitely something that I always felt was missing. And it wasn't just about the social aspect. Obviously, when Xavier and I were both working in London, sort of Michelin-starred sort of restaurants, and 15 hours a day, and sometimes we thought we would like to catch up for a glass of wine, we sort of ended up sort of in a casino or or some club where we could hardly hear ourselves, which for other occasions is good, but maybe after a long week we just wanted a plate of cheese and a bottle of red, and that place didn't really exist. So there was that aspect, but also going beyond that, we also felt, as we looked at the idea more, we probably first talked about this idea 2 or 3 years ago together, and we thought about the aspect of offering master classes on wine, on cocktails, on spirits, on beers, but also some sort of social awareness things. We've already had clinics here for things like mental health and different things like that, and sort of licensing laws, and so it's kind of it's not just it's not all about a place where you can come and eat and drink, which obviously in our trade we like to do, but there's other things going on as well. But I think I can't remember exactly when I first started thinking about it. It was probably 10-15 years ago. But yeah, I did. I can't. Yeah, over a glass of wine one night, I said, "Do you want to hear this one?" And Mr. Rousset, he probably regrets listening to it, but he did, and here we are today. I don't know if Xavier remembers it differently, but
no, I thought that was a brilliant idea. Of course, because it hasn't been done is one thing, and also this is a place where you can meet your peers, colleagues, friends, all in one room in quite a central location in London, with a very good kind of late license, because we come out after work at 11 or midnight. So very important to be up until 3 in the morning. Makes a big difference, and we have some quite successful nights here. Just to get people together, and also having the junior meeting the senior people. It's not sometimes easy to when you first start as a 20-year-old barman or waiter to see someone you've been watching, following, and then having able to access and have a chat here at Trade, which is nice.
As I say, I think let's maybe now go into a sort of a virtual tour. What is the space here? And how has it sort of evolved to work in the time that you've been open?
Right. All right. That's pretty compact. But I mean, the main feature is the central bar. Around there, you got sittings for more food, like normal tables, food lane next to the kitchen. You got some lovely alcoves. We can fit up to 8-9 people, which is either food or drinking. We got another area for about 15 people, which again is an alcove, but it's more drinking, and that's where we do sometimes our master classes. And we got a private room, which we are about to turn into more of a wine room, which is going to be a wine cellar where people can pick up a bottle. So we're going to increase dramatically the wine list and the cellar, basically. So we're changing the private room into that. And after that, that's pretty much what you see is what you get. It's 60-70 covers, all in one floor on a basement.
Obviously, the important thing about the site was its location. We're sort of next to sort of iconic places like Ronnie Scott's and Bar Italia. And also the license was important, because obviously one of the things we were thinking about was that space where people could come after work and have a plate of cheese or charcuterie and a bottle of red or a couple of cocktails or whatever that might be. So the location, the license were key, and those licenses don't come up often. And then we did like the space because it's kind of quirky. I mean, we're sat here in a little alcove where actually if you're in here on a busy night, it's almost semi-private, so you can dip into the atmosphere, or you can sort of be just with your group, and there are features of it because it's a historic building, and we can't do too much with it. So we're probably right here, sat underneath Compton Street, which is quite in a way is quite cool. So it's but yeah, as Xavier's already mentioned, we've got some lounge seating and we've got some more restaurant sort of seating. So people use the space for different things. So daytime is potentially more quiet. But we have people coming in for meetings. Some people come in and use it as a workspace, and then we do have sometimes winemaker lunches. People come in and bring a winemaker, bring some clients, and have a wine lunch. We had a cocktail masterclass yesterday lunchtime, based on rum. So it's again, one day to the next. We could be doing very varied things. It really is. Because it's all corners of the hospitality business who come and use us. So it could be a PR event, it could be it could be a spirits masterclass, cocktail masterclass, wine masterclass, lots of different things. We had a social media sort of clinic one time as well. So it's varied. It's varied.
It's interesting. So I've seen the space at kind of various times of the day, and I guess I've sort of have seen that firsthand for myself. One part, I guess, of the operation that I've not seen and not kind of so close to is just like, how is the use of the space and the programming? How has that kind of evolved in line with the membership? Because I guess when you first throw the membership open, you don't know who's going to sign up. It is literally an open membership. You're opening it to hospitality, but that's a pretty broad spectrum, isn't it? And how, maybe just through one or two examples, how has that then impacted what's happening here, and maybe even some suggestions or even things that have been put on by members, for members, I guess.
So in terms of the membership is quite diverse. I mean, initially there was I guess considering both Xavier and I's wine background, there was a big surge of sort of sommeliers or people working in the wine business. But actually, if you look across the membership now, it's restaurateurs, people in the hotel world, people in the PR world. So really, bar, spirits. So it's a real diverse membership, which we're obviously really happy about because that was always the idea. And yes, the club is for the members really. So they drive a lot of what goes on here. So they'll come to us with ideas, and I think once we started, we worked quite hard on the content for sort of social media and mail shots to the membership. And once they saw masterclasses going on, people were coming and saying, "Oh, can I do a masterclass, or can I introduce something, or can I come and DJ at your next DJ party on a Sunday?" Or so it's there's really it's really been driven by the membership. We haven't had to. And then we've got membership perks, things, discounts in restaurants or some partnerships with people who do clothing and things for the industry, and lots of different things there. And again, that once we released a couple of those, other people were saying, "Oh, can we do something?" So it's, I think that sort of the trade community, if you like, is growing and becoming more diverse, and all of the stuff that we do here is driven by that community. And we do some fun things as well. We were sort of, to try and keep the menu sort of active, we've got a partnership with Hoppers, one of our neighbours. The guys behind Hoppers, they were delighted. They quite liked the idea that our members could get access to some of their dishes off their menu and when they're sitting here. So there's always ideas coming from the membership, and the programme is ongoing, and I've already seen lots of things in there pending for September, October, and it's going to be a busy few months.
So sitting here as we are, like 3 weeks out from the PX Plus Festival, I know that you're both going to be involved in the Let's Have a Drink With sessions there that are going to be putting on. And really, just curious to know, how did that initially come about? What was the sort of conversation, and what was the sort of the spark, I guess, to that? And then how do you sort of envision that session going, and what are you sort of looking forward to?
Well, I mean, PX, Gearoid and I, before we opened Trade, so he was already in the pipeline, and we both went last year for literally 2 nights, 3 days, to have a look, and the idea is great. We love that. I think it was extremely well run and just brilliant, just a bit of fun and mixing with your peers again, which is great. So it kind of reassured us that Trade in Soho will do hopefully quite well as well. Now, in terms of how it came about, I think we got our marketing person for when we launched Trade through PX, because it was a conversation at 1 o'clock in the morning with Rachel, and we liked what she did with PX, the marketing, the approach, And we just got chatting over a cocktail or something. I said, well, we are looking at, doing this thing. Are you up for it? And so she was then up for it. And again, she's been the link this year between Trade, us, and then PX. Now, in terms of what we're doing on Saturday the 17th, it's more of a Q&A. I mean, whatever people throw at us, how, a bit like we're doing today, how did it came about, and what's the ethos, and what's the spirit, what's the concept, and so on. So we'll see. We're not sure. We got the guidelines, but it's more the conversation, I think.
Picking up on what Xavier said, I mean, we both really enjoyed PX last year. We're both, really passionate about hospitality, and we just thought it was a great idea. So we went along and we helped out Jan in the wine tent with some wine conversations last year. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. There's a lot of sort of. Is cross-pollination the right term between PX and trade? I don't know. It's sort of a lot of sort of shared values and goals in terms of what we want to achieve in terms of something for our business, our hospitality business. So it's happy to be there. As long we will always support it in whatever way we can. And I think we're doing some co-promotions together as well. So it's I think. Well, I'm pretty happy to speak for both of us that we both think PX is a great idea, and we're looking forward to being back there. Yeah. And I think PX as well, as trade as well, you sometimes bump into someone you haven't seen for a long time, and then maybe there's a business idea or there's an opportunity or something comes up, and I think we had that with Rachel in a way at PX, and I know I've bumped into someone I hadn't seen for a long time here, and we've ended up, I've helped him with some things in the business he's doing now. So there really is. We've talked a lot about that sort of social aspect. We've talked a lot about the master classes and a space for people to talk about certain things, but also there can be a sort of a business aspect to it, or a brainstorming, or a connection that can lead to some quite successful partnerships in the world of work too. So it's there's a lot of opportunities being part of something like trade in terms of, being a member with the access to the seminars, the tastings, the social aspect, the members' perks, and also I think Xavier mentioned that thing about the aspirational thing, bumping into, people maybe who you'd aspire to work with one day or be doing the same things. There's so it's there's a lot of different things going on here really, and always, as we do in this business, with a big smile on our face and having lots of fun. So.
Hi guys, as promised, here are the details of that very special PX Plus collaboration with Interpreting Wine. They have kindly made available to my listeners a very special 75% discount on the full price of the weekend ticket. So rather than the £120 full price, you'll be paying just £30 for the whole weekend. I've left below the link by which you can sign up for this. But just so that you know, that £30 will include access to all areas, access to all the talks, a free daily breakfast, a free camping pitch if you bring your own tent, access to the camping facilities including the shower and toilets, free car parking if needed, and a free shuttle bus service from the nearest train station, which is Sawbridgeworth. As you can tell, this is an absolute steal, so if you're in any doubt at all about booking, then this is the time to do so. They've also made it equally as easy to book this price. All that you need to do is to follow the checkout, and where prompted, use the discount code PXPOD at checkout. So, in summary, deal of the decade, a 75% discount on the weekend ticket price, which takes it from £120 to £30. Book using the link below in the description. And at checkout, simply use the discount code PXPOD. Thank you so much, Gearoid and Xavier. I think there's nothing like hearing from the founders, the original seed that led to the idea. I, for one, really enjoy the space and would recommend checking it out if you haven't already been. Trade is still accepting membership. I left below the link to their website to discover more, and also the link to their main social media handles. Just below that, you can also find details of how to book tickets for PX Plus Festival, including details of that very special offer. And of course, I would love to have you following along with me on social media, where I'm at Interpreting Wine on Instagram and Facebook, at Wine Podcast on Twitter, and email hello@interpretingwine.com. It's only left for me to say a huge thank you to all of my guests across this series. I think the breadth of the guests and the ideas that they brought really show the diversity of the PX Plus Festival and give a flavour of what the festival will be about. I, for one, am really looking forward to being there again. And this time we'll be capturing content for distribution across the rest of the year. Thank you so much for listening. Please spread the word about the podcast and this series if you think somebody would like to know. And see you next time.